Hi, I'm Matt Cartwright. I'm a dairy farmer from Columbia County. Work for you? Nobody buys that. Thank you for all coming out tonight. We got a big job ahead of us this fall, don't we, ladies and gentlemen? We have a big task in front of us, and a lot is riding on it. Not just who we prefer in office, not just, do we like the blue one over the red one. It's not, the horse race we're getting involved with. No, that's not what this is about. This is about the future of our country. I've been serving the minority in Congress for 5.5 years now. And I see my dear friend Phyllis Mundy over there. Wave hello to the nice people. And Phyllis knows what it's like to be in the minority. It's difficult because when you're in the minority, you don't control anything. You go to hearings that you don't control who the witnesses are. In fact, you don't even have the control the title of the hearings. I went to hearings when I first got to Congress. I was on the Oversight Committee, George, and you go to these hearings, and the title of the hearing was why people on unemployment compensation are too lazy to work. That's the hearing title. Before they have the hearing, they give you the conclusion. It was unbelievable. And it's like that all the time. Those are the hearings. Then we have the votes. There's a lot of good bills that are up for consideration in Congress that never see the light of the day. They never get out of committee. They would never even think of bringing them up for a vote. Why? Because it's some Democrat's idea. And it's not going anywhere as long as the Republicans are in charge. Let me give you a good example of that. About 3.25 years ago, I went down to a place called Selma, Alabama. I went down with a robust delegation of Congress. I went down with my friend John Lewis of Georgia. I went down with President then Barack Obama. I went down with about 70 members of Congress, most of them from the Democratic delegation. And what did we do? We celebrated the 50th anniversary of Bloody Sunday. Now, there's a lot of people that I can see here that were not alive for Bloody Sunday, so I need to tell you what that was all about. This was the Freedom Marchers. This was John Lewis and Reverend Abernathy and all of the agitators for civil rights in the South. This was a time when voting rights were very much in question. People were given ridiculous poll tests. How many jelly beans are in the jar before we let you vote? Ridiculous things that are un-American and undemocratic, and they were going on in the South, and people rose up. And they followed Dr. Martin Luther King, who followed Mohandas K. Gandhi's stratagem of protesting. Nonviolent resistance. And they were following that on that bridge, the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama, and they were walking across that bridge, and they had been warned that the Alabama State Police was going to knock the stuffing out of you if you try to cross that bridge, and they did it anyway. This is how brave these people were, and they were led by John Lewis. You can see the tape. He was wearing a white raincoat and walking across that bridge with the courage of a lion, knowing he was walking into violence, and he was going to be nonviolent. He was not going to resist, because that was the way Gandhi did it, and that was the way Dr. King taught, and eventually it led to Bloody Sunday, and exactly that happened. And you can see John Lewis in the film toppling head over heel, and he had, I think, hundreds of stitches. He was bleeding terribly from his scalp, and practically knocked unconscious. And all of this violence was perpetrated against these non-violent protesters walking across the bridge by the Alabama State Police. And what was is especially memorable and signal about that whole event was that it was caught on television. It was Sunday. And Sunday night, everybody across the country settled in to watch the evening news. And that's what they saw. They saw non-resisting, non-violent protesters having the stuffing beat out of them for no good reason by violent state policemen. And inside of all of these people who saw this on television, who watched it, inside of them, there welled up a feeling of disgust and revulsion, a feeling that basic standards of American decency had been violated before their very eyes. And they rose up, and they went down to the South, and they volunteered to march with the Freedom Marchers, and they got involved, and they called their congressmen and their senators, and they deluged the White House with communication to get this job done. What were the Freedom Marchers marching for? The Voting Rights Act. And within 4 months, I mean, it takes forever to pass anything in Congress, but in 4 months, that kind of wellspring of support and agitation from across the United States led to the passage and the signing by President Lyndon Johnson of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. It was unbelievable how quickly that worked. Why am I telling you this? Because it matters what the people want in American democracy. The people want decency. They want things like solidity in Social Security and Medicare. They want affordable health care and above all, affordable prescription medication prices. They want Medicare to be able to negotiate for these things. They want clean air and clean water. They want livable wages. They want labor rights. They want decency in the workplace. They want civil rights for minorities and women, and workplace rights and equal pay rights and reproductive rights, and everything that we think about as Democrats. We want these things. You know, Denny's right. Everybody wants these things for the middle class. And we want to fight for good jobs, and we want to make a real infrastructure project to go on, not just one of these phony, the federal government only pays 20% deals. I mean, that's illusory, that's made up. What we need is the federal government pays for 80%, the way they've always done, and we do transparent labor agreements, and we do transparent appropriations for these things. And that's the way we do things in America. All of us want these things, and we want these basic things that the middle class needs in this country. And I'm here to say, you can have these things. You can have them. But what do we have to do? We have to get out there and work. We have to remind people about democracy. It requires participation. And we have to knock on those doors and find out what's eating the people and get them out to vote. And I'm here to tell you, you put the Democrats, you put guys like Denny Wolf in seats in Congress, and we flip that Congress, we flip the House to Democratic, and all of a sudden, decent bills, smart bills get passed out of the House. An infrastructure bill is going to get passed out of that House. We'll put it on Donald Trump's desk, and he'll sign it. I don't care if he claims it was his idea. That's all right. That's all right. It can be his idea. Good for the country. So I'm here to say thank you all for coming out today. But don't forget, you've got to stay energized. You've got to keep working. You've got to involve your friends and neighbors. You've got to make those phone calls. You've got to knock those doors. You've got to pass out that literature. because the only way we're going to change any of this is to get guys like Denny Wolf elected, Governor Tom Wolf re-elected, Senator Bob Casey re-elected. And if you think of it, give Matt Cartwright a vote too.